Changing your life is shockingly simple. The real problem is that what we've been taught about change is completely wrong. Most people think they need more habits, more routines, more discipline, more motivation, blah, blah, blah. You don't. In this video, I'm going to discuss how you can fix your entire life. I have a practical guide after each section of how you can do this, and I'll link it down below. You can download for free. If you're serious about changing your life, you would want to watch this entire video in order to take anything meaningful out of it. I've broken this entire thing into a 3-act process. I don't say this lightly. If you watch this entire video and put it to practice, you will almost certainly change your life. Let's get into it. Act 1. Change your self-identity first. Everything begins here. I'll explain why. Your brain values consistency more than success. This is one of the strangest truths of the human psychology. Your brain will rather protect a familiar identity than create a better future. Your mind will rather protect your identity than improve your life. See, familiar pain often feels safer than unfamiliar growth. Many people don't fear failure. Their brain fears becoming someone unfamiliar. This causes friction for change. Our psychology works very hard to keep cognitive consistency. This is why when we try to form a new habit before changing our self-identity, we struggle. This is because the new habit challenges our long-held beliefs and self-image. Therefore, the brain goes into defense to protect us from ourselves. The brain perceives a threat to our identity as a threat to our survival, even if the change will improve our lives. Recognizing this is the first step towards changing your life. Second point, discipline, motivation, and self-control are overrated. See, most people try to change their habits, their behaviors, their routines first before attempting to change their self-identity. This is like taking pain medications for back pain caused by poor posture. The pain temporarily disappears. Since your posture never changes, you never did anything to change your posture when you're sitting down, the pain always returns. The popular saying among gym goers, "You cannot outrun a bad diet," perfectly illustrates my point here. You cannot out-habit a bad self-image. You cannot out-discipline a bad self-image. And when I say a bad self-image here, I mean a self-image misaligned with your habits. See, every action is a vote for who you believe you are. The person you are reflects in the things that you do and in how you behave. This means a person who wants wealth but identifies as bad with money will struggle. A person who wants health but identifies as unhealthy will struggle. A person who believes that they are a failure will subconsciously behave in a manner that is consistent with who they think they are. A person who believes they are capable naturally takes action that seems impossible to someone who believes they are limited. Case in point, see, all work, like work, any form of work, requires effort, but it always doesn't require the same amount of mental resistance. When your habits are aligned with your identity, there is less friction between what you want to do and what feels natural to do. To an outsider, it looks like discipline, like you are insanely disciplined. In reality, you are just acting in accordance to who you believe you are. Third point, you are always moving towards congruence with your self-image. See, your mind wants your actions, beliefs, and identity to agree. When these things align, we become congruent with ourselves. Every human has a deep need for internal consistency. If you believe you're lazy, you will find the evidence in your life that confirms it. If you believe you're confident, you will find the evidence. Your life is constantly reorganizing itself around who you think you are. Therefore, changing your self-image for the better creates this seamless flow to achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. So where do we get our self-identity in the first place? Good point. So I'm going to get into it in the fourth point. Every identity starts with an interpretation. Nobody's born believing that they're incapable. Nobody's born believing that they are unworthy. Every identity starts with an interpretation of an experience. Somewhere along the way, we all drew conclusions or interpretations about ourselves. We all have done it. Early in middle school, I got laughed at in class for doing a presentation that was not so confident. It hurt. I began thinking that I wasn't cut out for speaking in public or talking in class. And that conclusion lived with me up to my adult years. These conclusions about who we are or who we are not can seriously rob us of our lives. One rejection becomes, I am unattractive. One failure becomes, I am not entrepreneurial. One embarrassing moment becomes, I am awkward. One setback becomes, I am not capable. The event happened once, but the story survives for years. The experience can be temporary, but the interpretations can become lifelong prisons. See, the person you are or the success you attain in life is not predetermined or given, but it can be shaped. It is shaped by the contours of the stories we tell ourselves. Your story is the limit and constraint of your reality. You have total control over how you interpret the experiences in your life. Do not shoot yourself in the foot, regardless of whatever you went through. Do not make unfavorable conclusions about the events that happened in your life. Fifth point, you are not your experiences. I repeat, you are not your experiences. One of the most destructive mistakes that humans make is confusing experiences with identity. You failed, that does not make you a failure. You were rejected, that does not make you unworthy. You made mistakes, that does not make you broken. Experiences belong to you, but they are not you. The mistake was real or is real in your life, in your past, but many people build an identity around the mistake, which is not the right way to do it. It doesn't help you. Therefore, how does your self-image change? Well, let's talk about it. Sixth point, your self-image changes through evidence, not information. See, knowing that you have to change your self-image does not change your self-image. Knowing the ways you can change your self-image does not change your self-image. You need evidence to transform your self-image. You have to convince your brain with evidence of why your self-image needs to change. And the amazing part is that most people have evidence against the bad stories that they've convinced themselves of. For example, many people conclude that they are a failure when they've already successfully solved hundreds of problems, learned new skills, and survived difficult seasons of their lives. You just need one win. One win. Just one win. A small win. That is all the proof you need. So whenever your self-image tries to convince you otherwise, think back in your life. Every promise kept, every difficult thing completed, every act of courage, every small win. These become votes for your new identity. Evidence is the language in which your subconscious understands. All right, let's get into practical steps. Practical steps to change your self-image. I call this the Great Reset exercise. So in this practical step section, I'm going to use the public speaking example as the problem that we've wrongfully built our identity around, that we don't know how to speak in public, or I don't know how to speak in public, and therefore I'm not going to be able to ever do so. Okay, so that's the example we're going to use. How do you error correct your self-image? Well, step one, identify the lie. So write down the area in your life you've been trying to change but have trouble changing. Write down your beliefs around it. For example, I don't know if I can speak in public. I am not the type of person who does that. Ask, is this a fact or is this a conclusion? Trace it back. Maybe it came from that one presentation that went badly in high school. One event, one interpretation, lifelong consequences. Step two, find the original evidence. Ask, what experience convinced me that that thing was true, that lie was true? For example, a student gives a presentation at 15. He freezes. The class laughs. He concludes, I am bad at public speaking. Years later, he avoids leadership opportunities, networking events, presentations, interviews, and content creation. The event lasted for 5 minutes, but the identity lasted for 15 years. The event ended, but the story didn't. Step three, after finding the evidence and identifying the lie and finding the evidence of where it came from, step three, we have to attack the conclusion. You have to interrogate your conclusion that you made before, the bad conclusion. You have to interrogate it ruthlessly. Ask, does one presentation determine my ability forever? Will I judge someone this harshly? What evidence contradicts this belief that I have about myself? Have I ever spoken well before? Get angry at bad reasoning. Get angry. I'm very serious about this point. You have to be really, really angry at these stupid reasonings that are holding yourself back. And when I say anger, I mean intellectual anger, right? Not emotional anger. Something that robs you of your life should not be played with. Real change usually began when I looked honestly at my self-concept and realized how irrational it was. Refuse to let weak conclusions ruin your life. Step four, replace the story. Don't replace it with fantasy. Replace it with the truth. Not, I'm the greatest speaker alive. No. Replace it with, one bad presentation does not determine my ability. Public speaking is a skill. And skills are anything that are teachable and learnable, so I can learn them, right? Skills can be improved. That is rational confidence, not delusion. Step five, point your brain to your evidence or create new evidence. Think back to the times where you've spoken to a gathering, a group of people, at family dinner, spoken to more than one person, friends, right? You didn't die, you made it through. That little slice of evidence is all you need. That evidence that you've spoken to more than one person at a time, that is all you need. And if you can remember any evidence in your past life, you can create one. And in the case of our public speaking example, you can introduce yourself to a stranger. You can give a short presentation to friends. You can speak up in a meeting. You can record a video, right? Collect evidence, like collect evidence. Stop trying to convince yourself. Start proving yourself wrong. Step 6, make your new identity a habit. Start speaking to groups of people. Do this repeatedly. Do it, live it, own it. Be the speaker you are meant to be. And by the way, if you want this practical guide and the other two that we're going to talk about in the next section, I'll link it down below. You can be able to access the entire guide. Just enter your email and you'll be able to get it for free. And subscribe if you're getting anything, if you resonate with this and you're getting any value from it. Act 2. Now that you've changed your identity, this is what we need to do next. Change your environment. Point 1. Identity is not formed in isolation. We do not exist in a silo. Your environment plays a key role in who you are. Your self-image is not a static belief you hold in your head. And so the environment influences your self-identity expression. Your environment is everything around you, including, the things, living or non-living, your friends, your family, all these things are your environment. There is a continual interaction between your self-image and your environment. It is like a running model that is continually updated by feedback from your environment. Your environment right now, and every environment has these features. It normalizes certain behaviors, it rewards certain habits, it ignores some acts, and it punishes certain behaviors. And your identity adapts to each of them over time. Eventually, what surrounds you becomes what's normal, and what's normal becomes who you are. So, a bad environment doesn't just influence your behavior, it quietly teaches who you are. That is why individuals hanging around a bad crowd of people eventually become like those people. It is the same as being immersed in a culture that celebrates the very habits you're trying to escape. It is the same as trying to lose weight while living in a house full of junk food. It is the same as wanting to stop doom scrolling while having every single social media app and turning on those applications on your phone. Therefore, you need to ruthlessly watch for who and what you're around at all times. Point 2 about changing your environment. Immersion changes identity faster than intention. You don't change your self-identity in a vacuum. Anything that does not foster the self-image that you're trying to build is a distraction. Your friends, your home, your digital life are all influential factors in this. Immersing your self-image in an environment that fosters its growth is the best thing you can do for your self-image. Focus on creating an environment that confirms your self-image. For example, think of two friends venturing to learn French. Friend 1 practices French on an app for 20 minutes each day. Friend 2 moves to France for 2 weeks and is surrounded by the French language everywhere he goes. Both have the same intention, but friend 2 learns dramatically faster because his environment forces him to think, speak, and live the language. So immerse yourself in that new project, that new skill, that new identity, that new habit. Immerse yourself in it. Point 3 of changing your environment. Inconsistency is not a willpower problem. It is usually a mismatch problem. What do I mean by that? See, your habits, environments, goals, and identity are constantly interacting. When they align, your behavior becomes effortless. When they conflict, your behavior becomes unstable. See, a person attempting to change their identity while living in their old physical or digital environment will experience friction at every step. A congruent environment will amplify your identity over time. An incongruent environment will erode your identity over time. Change accelerates when all parts of these systems stop contradicting each other. Seek every opportunity to reduce internal conflict as much as possible. All right, practical steps to recalibrating your environment. This is not about escaping your environment. It's about adjusting your environment so that it stops blocking your identity signals, the identity that you really want to grow. Step 1, identify identity signals in your environment. What do I mean by this? Well, you have to ask these questions. What does your environment repeatedly tell you is normal? What behaviors does it reward without effort? What behaviors does it make difficult or invisible? These are very important questions. So ask these questions. What identity is your environment pushing you towards? And be very candid in this assessment, because that's the way you can actually figure out if your environment is working for you or against you. Step 2, reduce identity confusion. Remove conflicting signals where possible. Do not surround yourself with environments that reinforce your old identity while you're trying to build a new one. So, remove any misalignment that confuses you, the new self you're trying to build, from any old self that exists within your environment. Step three, increase exposure to desired signals. How do you do this? Place yourself in environments where the identity you want is already expressed. This is to recalibrate what feels normal. So, those desired signals that you want your environment to reinforce about your identity, about your new identity, that is what you want more of. So, increase more of that. Step four, design environments that reduce identity load. How do you do this? Well, good environments reduce the need for constant decision making. They make the desired behavior the path of least resistance. They reduce the number of identity negotiations you must have to do each day, meaning that you reduce the times that you have to be making decisions, that load of decision making you have to do, where you don't have to rely on your willpower. Act three. All right. So after we've changed our identity and we've changed our environment to fit that identity we're trying to build, three, we have to make this whole change foolproof, meaning we have to try to, prevent us from reverting back to our old ways. Okay. We're trying to move away and create this new identity and make it stick, make it a permanent change within our lives. Here is how you do it. Point one, perform end of day reality checks. So set an alarm at the end of each day. It could be 7 p.m., 8 p.m., something like that, end of your day. Okay. Not as a reminder, but as a disruption. When it goes off, this is what I want you to do. Stop everything. Stop negotiating. Stop postponing. Stop rationalizing. Treat this as an existential audit, not a productivity tool. Ask one question. Am I currently living in alignment with the person I said I want to become? Be very honest with yourself in this assessment. Jot down the areas that you have and the areas that you haven't been congruent with your new identity. The goal is not to be perfect from the start. So within a week, if you haven't been able to make any meaningful mini steps towards the person you want to become, then you truly haven't changed. In this case, I will urge you to return to learning about changing your self-identity as discussed in the earlier section. Point two, outcome-based change fails. Identity-based change sticks. Most people try to change their lives through targets. What do I mean by that? Like they say, I want to run a marathon. I want to read more books. I want to make more money. This creates pressure without the transformation. Identity change makes you think about it differently. Instead of saying, I want to run a marathon, you say, I am a runner. Instead of saying, I want to read more books, you say, I am a reader. Instead of saying, I want to make more money, you say, I am someone who creates value. You don't consistently achieve what you want. You constantly achieve who you are. Goals give direction. Identity gives inevitability. Point three about making this new change foolproof, right? So that you don't revert back to your old self. Construct minimum viable days, or what I call an identity preservation system. Most people think change requires high performing days. It doesn't. It requires continuity. Don't design your life assuming future perfect conditions, right? Everything is going to be good. You're not going to have anything within your life that's going to attempt to disrupt your new identity or your new change. Your future self will have days in which it is more tired than expected, have more chaos than expected, have more commitments than expected. On those bad days, do the minimum that preserves your identity. For example, do a one workout set if you are, you want your new identity change involves, going to the gym and being healthy. Another example could be write one paragraph if your new identity involves, changing and becoming and writing down your ideas or journaling. Eat one healthy meal if, let's say, you want to eat healthy and weed out foods that don't help you. Do one business action. Let's say you started a business and you want to be consistent in that. So your identity survives when your behavior never fully disappears. Point four, stop chasing goals. Become someone who makes goals inevitable. Like I said, goals are targets you want to achieve. You have to become the person who achieves that goal before you actually achieve that goal. You don't become healthy after losing weight. You lose weight because you became someone who values health. You don't become a writer after publishing a book. You publish a book because you first became someone who writes. Becoming always precedes achieving. Goal achievement is simply identity made visible. Point five, track your identity, not just outputs. Build visible proof of your consistency. Most people track results. They track their weight, they track their income, they track their productivity. Now, if they're interested in making those changes or those changes within their lives. But these results are lagging indicators. Instead, track identity evidence. Did I keep my word today? Did I act like the person I want to become? Did I break alignment or reinforce it? Make your progress visible, not for others, but for your self identity. Keep a journal. Keep the evidence. Logs matter. Evidence matters. You are going to need it because one day your inner critic will return. It will question your new identity. It will whisper, "You haven't really changed. You're still the same person. Who are you kidding?" This is when you open your evidence. Don't argue with the voice, present the facts. Because your mind doesn't trust ideas, it trusts patterns. It trusts evidence that you can point to. Your identity is built on what you can point to, not what you know. Point 6. Detach self-worth from outcomes. Most people fuse their identity with their results. If they succeed, they feel worthy. If they fail, they feel broken. This is a critical error. Once a decision is made and execution begins, your responsibility is the process, not the emotional weight of the outcome. You can act congruently with your identity and still lose. You can act incongruently with your identity and will still win. Neither outcome defines you. Outcomes are mostly influenced by variables you don't fully control, but your identity is fully under your control. If your worth depends on your outcomes, your identity will not be fully stable enough to grow because that's going to be an unstable environment. You will not fully be able to grow because your identity will constantly be challenged. So protect your identity at all costs. All right, that's it. Point 7. Failure is not the enemy. You will fail. You will, at some point in this journey, behave like your old self. You may, at some point, struggle to keep the promise you made to your new self. This is not optional. You will go through this. You have to, however, characterize failure in the right way to prevent identity collapse. Let's say you missed the gym for a week. One response could be, "I'm lazy," or "I knew this identity change thing wasn't going to work. What is Sam talking about?" Another response could be, "My routine wasn't realistic," or "I need a simpler plan for busy weeks." One destroys your identity, one strengthens it. Use these failures to understand the limits of your self concept. The goal is not perfection, the goal is recoverability. The strongest systems in your life are not the ones that are failure proof, they're the ones that are failure tolerant. Even successful people in life, right? They're not the people that are failure proof. They're the people that are failure tolerant. Because in any endeavor that requires effort, you are going to experience challenges and you have to be failure tolerant to be able to excel and get back up and try again in the face of adversity. Point 8, your identity should be the gauge for any result or outcome you want in life. James Clear once said, "Your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. Your net worth is a lagging measure of your financial habits. Your weight is a lagging measure of your eating habits. Your knowledge is a lagging measure of your learning habits. Your clutter is a lagging measure of your cleaning habits. You get what you repeat." This is a phenomenal statement. And I agree with this statement, but I'll take it a step further. So your outcomes are a lagging measure of your habits. And your habits are a lagging measure of your identity. Meaning, your habits determine your results in your life, but your identity determines your habits in your life. So the biggest lever for creating better life results does not exist at the result level or even at the habit level, but at the identity level. You won't get better results or better habits in your life without a healthy, congruent self-image. Because your results are delayed outputs. They are lagging outputs of earlier things in your life, meaning your identity. Wealth is not a decision. It is an accumulation of financial behaviors shaped by your identity. Health is not a decision. It is an accumulation of dietary and movement behaviors shaped by your identity. So if you want to change an outcome or get a result in your life, look to changing your self-identity first. This makes that attempt damn near impossible to fail. Your identity is the control knob for your life results. It is the master of all change. Point 9. Compounding is the physics of behavior. What do I mean by this? See, small behaviors are not small. Small identity shifts are not small. Compounding does not require intensity. It requires consistency in the right direction. One workout doesn't make you fit. One workout is evidence. 100 workouts becomes an identity. See, a very key point. Nature has a bias towards compounding events, not single events. Think about it. Almost everything in life, in nature, happens over a series of steps. not one step. A plant doesn't just become 10 foot tall after sprouting. You have to seed it, water it, tend it over time. Forests grow one ring at a time. Relationships deepen through repeated interactions. Expertise is built through accumulated practice. Identity is no different. Even people who had overnight success had to have a series of steps go the right way before they achieved that success. So life doesn't change in moments, it changes in repeated conditions. All right, a last few notes to remember. Life is not something you finish. There is no final version of you. There is no endpoint where everything is fixed. Even the people we want to emulate in life have not completed life. The idea that you are behind in life assumes that there is a finish line that others have reached. There isn't. Everyone is adapting. Everyone is becoming. You are not late. You are in motion. You're not behind. You are still becoming. The beauty of it all is that you control who you become. Another note to remember: use reality as a feedback system, not a judgment system. See, most people use reality as a judge, as a decider of their worth. This is wrong. Instead, use reality to refine your direction. Outcomes are not verdicts, they are data. Failure is not identity collapse or should not lead to identity collapse. It is information about misalignment. Success is not even identity confirmation, it is evidence of effective alignment. Reality is neutral. And this is not even about self improvement. I mean, it is part of it, but it's about self alignment. The goal is to become someone congruent with the objects of their self image and stay that way. The goal is to change your life and change it for good. If any part of this video resonates with you, please like the video and subscribe. I have tons of very useful, very important videos that you do not want to miss that will come out twice a week. And yeah, subscribe, join the family. And remember, I'll link down below the practical steps that you can download. It's just enter your email. It's my newsletter. It's called Skillonomics. Just enter your email and you'll be able to access that. And yeah, thank you for watching this video. I will see you next time. Thank you.